welcome to SNB Talkin Sport. I'm your host, Spinksy, and what a show we have lined up for you guys this week. It's nice to have you two back with us. Ness, how was your week?
Pretty cruisy week, actually. Nothing totally great to report, I suppose. Just working and back into Netty. Sort of getting ready for winter comp, which will be exciting. So I've been trying to flog myself a little bit on the netball court to try and get some fitness back.
Oh, yeah, you have. Yes, you have. Ness, you just got so personal so early. Oh, God. I flogged myself heaps this week, so don't worry about it.
We're cancelled.
Because it's so late tonight, see? The brain's yeah, good. Josh can edit that later.
No, it stays.
Anyway, I'm working on my fitness. We'll go from there. That's probably still not a great line. I'm going to throw to you, Bo. You go.
Yeah, my week's been good. Flogged myself heaps too, so that's fine. Like, that's pretty normal. We probably haven't focused much on this podcast, but I changed career during the off season, I suppose. So it's been a hard working week out in the sun. I had today off though. There's no work for me today. And then it's just getting ready for. I've got a somewhat important football game coming up on the weekend, so just get myself ready for that
later.
And
there is a few things that you and I haven't discussed on this show, which we were supposed to, I think, in week one. The two of us are freshly tattooed over the summer. So for those of you who can see on the TV here, I've got a new one right here at the back of my ear. If you guys can see that.
You do.
I believe you got one on your foot as well, mate.
Yeah, I did, man. Over the summer, we just had a boys' little golf weekend. A couple of us went down, played some golf down at the bay, and I've got one here. Got to adjust. It's a nice tattoo just on my foot. Not sure if we'll ever see this. There is a golf flag there.
With the hole. Very nice.
So what happened was I just got super not sober would be a nice way to put it. And one of the boys was he had a tattoo gun, so we decided to tattoo each other, and I got a little flag stick there tattooed on my foot. So now I've got my first ever tattoo. I feel like a new man.
Your first ever tattoo, sure. Very sure. Right, let's get to talking about some news. Yesterday I sat here and I had the absolute horror of watching the NBA All-Star dunk competition, and what a shit show it was. Over the years, there has been some incredible talent come through the dunks. We've seen Jordan dunk from almost halfway. We've seen dudes do the windmill, the through the legs, all kinds of stuff. But yesterday was disgusting. It was like I was watching these guys dunk for the first time ever. I think usually you get 3 chances. So each time you stuff it up, you kind of go again. Some guys use mascots and some guys use fans in the stands to hold it over their head. Everyone's got a different technique. Yesterday, they were letting them go 6, 7, 8 times to try and make a dunk. The dude who won it in the end almost missed his dunk, and the ball bounced off the backboard and through the hole. And I'm like, that's not a dunk. Like, you missed what you were trying to do. Everyone was whinging about the NFL All-Star match they had a couple of weeks back, how it was just atrocious. But the NBA has gone out and just outdone themselves in the bad case of it. Did you guys happen to see the dunk contest yesterday or the NBA All-Star match today, which was even worse?
I'll tune in first because I don't have much to talk about on this. I watched a fair bit of the All-Stars game, and it every year it disappoints me. It's like watching a couple of guys just down at the local court play that can actually shoot the ball, but it's not really that entertaining. It's kind of impressive to see some of the shit they can do, but I'm not a fan of the All-Stars game. I'm not a fan of the Pro Bowl like you're talking about in the football. Missed the dunk competition, but it sounds like it was probably a good thing to miss. But it just doesn't show the skill that the guys have. It just shows that they can shoot the ball from the 3-point line. That's all it is. It's just a in-game 3-point contest.
That was it. It was just, I sat down to watch it, and I just happened to be on before I started watching the Sharks and the Panthers yesterday, which we'll touch on after. But it was hard to watch, and I thought it was very disappointing from them to put on a performance like that. Surely they can find guys who can actually dunk the basketball. It was just me, but surely they can find something else. Right, let's talk about Super Rugby, one of my least favorite sports, but the mighty New South Wales Waratahs won their first game in 538 days. 13 matches they went without a win. Last season they were 0 from 13, and they finally got a win on the weekend against Fiji, and they are top of the table. So hopefully COVID comes back and the season ends right now, and the Tars are crowned champions. 40-10, I think the Tars won in the end. A massive display in horrible conditions out there. The ground was so moist. It was horrible to see. And the Brumbies, they got a win too. Ness, how were the Brumbies game yesterday?
Oh, it's just started so shocking today. The Brums did well. Look, they didn't start well, but they certainly ended well. So with 3 minutes to go, they put the game away, which was good. The Force came out really well, actually, and probably important to note that a lot of the Brumbies actually went to the Force. So, it was sort of like the Brumbies playing the Brumbies A team, really, because so many of them have gone over to WA. But it was a good game, a good contest, and good to see the Brums get a win. They really needed that. So I look forward to the Tars and Brums game when Spinksy and I probably won't talk to each other.
Now, you told me there was like 8,000 at the match yesterday. I ran past the stadium. There was more people gardening outside that were inside for sure.
8,056. Thank you. Proud.
There was no way. But let's talk about the NRL now. The trial matches have started. I sat here and watched my Cronulla Sharks yesterday get absolutely towed up by the Penrith Panthers. But there is a household name playing for the Panthers. Maverick Geyer, the son of Mark, was out there with the Panthers on Sunday afternoon, and he looked somewhat of a specimen. A full moustache, a tight shirt, and I was impressed. And Maverick scored in the first half, and I think he almost scored again in the second half. Sharks went down 36-6 or something, but Maverick looks like his old man, runs like him, is very talented. So hopefully Maverick has a big future in the sport. Disappointing to see the Sharks go down, but on the other hand, Ness, your Roosters had a win. Oh no, they didn't either.
The Roosters got smoked. Absolutely roast chickens. It was ugly, but we didn't have anyone playing of note, but we probably still should be beating the Raiders. So a bit disappointing, but we're not to talk of the Novocastrians because Bo's about to go and watch that game after this podcast. So
yes, I do have some games to watch after this, but I'm not going to deter that away from the Roosters losing. Might be the reason why Ness bashed herself so much. Just had to fucking get that out, huh?
Let's get that out
Feel
quick.
a bit better about yourself, did you?
Yeah, nice. Righto, we are moving on to F1 news this week, and Ness, you have a few things lined up for us with what's happening in the Formula One.
Yeah, big week in the Formula One. So I'll start with the good news, and that's all of the 2022 cars have been launched. Well, I think most of them have now, if not all. Some cracking new cars, and I'm reading that there's some aerodynamic changes and tyre changes and that sort of thing. So it should be a really exciting year. But there's some rule changes as well that they've announced. So off the back of all the controversy in the last season, there'll be a new virtual race control room that'll be created. So kind of like think the VAR in football, which will help the race director. I mean, this sport's, there's just no shortage of dollars, right? But they're just creating new positions everywhere and new technology, which is kind of cool, but we'll get to that. The unlapping of cars. So during the safety car period, they'll be reassessing all of that. So that was definitely a point of contention last year. This is a bit, I don't like this one. I'm really not a fan of this, but I started to really get into the radio comms to the race director, and they're taking that off the broadcast. So you won't actually, you won't be able to talk into
What?
which I think was just, that added so much for me. But anyway,
I did not know that.
That was
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Oh, good on you, Nets, for finding that out.
They're going to rotate the race directors as well. So they're splitting the responsibility. There's 2 race directors now instead of the 1. And they're going to split that across the 23 races in the season. And then that's overseen. So those 2 race directors will be overseen by a permanent senior advisor. So in light of all of that, Michael Massey, who's the Aussie race director and has been since 2019, I believe, he'll take on a new role in the FIA. So for me, I think that's the FIA saying, we stuffed up last year. And I think you can understand why Hamilton and Mercedes are as unhappy with Verstappen winning because they've just taken that guy out of his role. So really interesting. But yeah, what do you make of those changes?
That's super disappointing, isn't it, for a viewer?
Yeah.
I just think that added so much to it. And we spoke a lot last year about just being new fans to the sport. I just think it added so much. Yeah. The controversy and all of the, the inside sort of chat is what kind of gets you excited about it and gets you more involved and feeling like you're more connected. So
I think so too. It's one of those sports where if you don't have these additional things, like it can be a boring sport. Like no one wants to just watch a race car go around a track for however long. So it's the little things like that, which maybe it's just as a casual fan, which I think we're all trying to become more than casual fans, but it's just one of those little things that's like, that's what makes it so interesting. That's disappointing. I'm only just learning that now. That sucks.
I know. I read that the other day and I was devastated.
And as you said, like the money the cash these guys have, to have the virtual race stimulation, that's awesome. I think that works, but maybe the comms will come back next year, maybe, because I think we all love that, the way they explain how it all works. I think that was awesome. So hopefully that's back soon.
Well, I'm thinking it's just the comms to the race director themselves. So it's so where we heard a lot of certainly in those last 3 laps last year. Talking straight to Michael Massey. I don't think that's the bit they're allowing on the broadcast. So anyway, it should be
sure, like a small part, and you might not hear it throughout the race, but it's like you said, that last race, like where it's the most intense part of the season. That's what you want to hear. You want to hear. You want to hear all that. Imagine going through last year's final race with a couple laps ago and being like, I can't hear what's going on.
Yeah.
Bad move, I say.
So, and we'll see where Michael Massey ends up. So he's assuming a new role. So he's got to be feeling a bit gutted. He's obviously copped it a lot over the last 6 or 7 months, but yeah.
Oh, he would have. He absolutely would have, because wrong decision at the end of the day. Like, fucking terrible work. Interesting for the viewer, for sure. Interesting.
All right, look, let's turn our attention to Australia winning the T20 series against Sri Lanka 4-1. Does anyone mind at all? Like, I think this was as soon as the Aussies won the Ashes against England and the T20 series against England was over because of COVID and New Zealand wasn't over here, and Sri Lanka turned up and we won 4-1. Has anyone watched a game at all?
Not even the one that I had to organise.
Oh, wow. I watched the final game because I had some money invested in it.
And how did you go with your money invested in it?
So here's the thing. For anyone that does bet and you're watching the game, make sure your game is live. Because I made the mistake of I'd a decent amount of money on Australia to win, and then we took a wicket. We took our second wicket, and I was like, for shits and gigs, I'll check Sportsbet, see what we're paying. And I was like, we're now up to like $1.65, and we just took this second wicket.
And you
And
went
I was
again.
like, yeah, I bet live.
Yes, that's my
I was like,
bet live.
I have no idea why we're $1.65 after this wicket.
Gamble
Call up
responsibly.
Sportsbet,
Gamble responsibly.
Oh,
X amount of money on. Won't disclose the amount I put on. I was like, I'm so surprised about this. And then I go back to my game, and it's like, oh, live. And I go to live, and it's a different ball game. And then, so what any punter does is be like, okay, watch it again, keep watching, and just get more money back. And I decided to put more money on.
Yes. Yes. Again.
And that turned out to be not a very good decision. So
I've been there before. I know how you feel, bro. That's fantastic.
And I'm not gonna lie, I put my first bet on not even seeing the team that we put out.
Because we had a few drops. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, it's just an expensive lesson learned, but that's okay. Chase your losses. One each time you lose is one step closer to a big win. Remember that, everyone.
That gets
A
remember.
loss is a good thing.
Beautiful. All right, let's turn our attention now to the Commonwealth Games, and it looks like regional Victoria is set to host the Commonwealth Games in a few years' time. Well, the Commonwealth Games have gone from being a prestigious thing that we had every 50 years to now having it every 4 years. Why? When did the Commonwealth Games has become Australia hosts and England hosts? Like, this has just been a trash thing. We seem to have had it. From what I can remember, the Gold Coast had it a few years back. Melbourne's had it since, and now Victoria's had it. Not the MCG. We're talking regional Victoria. We're talking Shepparton, Geelong, Albury, all those rubbish towns that no one likes at all are going to host the Commonwealth Games. Like, Ness, help me out here. What is happening? Why?
Yeah, look, I've probably got a different argument to it. And I do agree with you, right? I think particularly as a netball fan, the Com Games is still really relevant because for netball specifically, right, there's only two major tournaments that they really have. There's the World Champs or the World Cup now, and the Com Games. So there's not a real big opportunity for them to play a lot of international games. So the Com Games is still really relevant there, but the Com Games in general is absolutely losing momentum. We talked a lot about the Olympics losing momentum. What I think Victoria are trying to do is really the state of Victoria has really suffered a lot during COVID, and I think what they're trying to do is spread the love and really try and build up the rest of the state. Melbourne obviously gets a lot of the love and attention, but actually the flow-on effect of taking those events to regional centres means the investment actually gets into those regional centres. They'll spend in event infrastructure, and the lasting legacy then for the community and for local sport is huge. So places like Geelong, Albury, whatever, they have a lot of the AFLW, they have a lot of cricket games. So it actually starts to build them up and have more venues that are available in the long run. But I get your arguments, Viggs, because you're about to launch here.
I'm not. I was going to say I was wrong, and you are right. Like the fact that for the first time ever, I was wrong. I think that you are right. Like the fact that they're pumping money into a regional towns and states, which you and I are from the regional towns, and they're finally starting to pump money into it. Maybe the Commonwealth Games will help these towns in regional Victoria that no one likes because they're you're right. Look, you make
things. I'm with your original decision. You want to have a good Commonwealth game.
I think she's right though. I think the money that will come, even smaller towns having a nice stadium would help. In a way, right? I'm sure that stadium will get filled down the track, but I think you're right. At the moment, maybe it's worth it. Yeah.
But what's more important to a Commonwealth game, making the town money or having a good event?
Daniel
I think
Andrews
change,
is under
right?
the pump. Daniel Andrews needs to do something for his state. So that
It's
man,
just a politics thing now, isn't it?
yeah, I don't
It is.
care. It's not my
Actually, it is. And I think too, like the state's been, you know, it's been going through turmoil, but I think that's exactly right. Like people are seeing that these sporting tournaments are costing an enormous amount of money. And so if they can now show that the investment flows back into these regional centres, then helps politically for sure. But it actually helps, like these big tournaments do help to pay for things that you wouldn't otherwise get that funding in those regional centres. So, we know here that, the legacy of we upgrade training venues and that sort of thing when we have World Cups. And it just means that our local sport, once that tournament leaves, has a place to train for local Canberrans. So,
well,
yeah.
It'd be nice if we would host it here so we get a new stadium instead of
Absolutely right. I would like
right back here, right behind me, been dealing with for years, the coldest wind hole in Australia. So, Nessie, if you could deal with that, that'd be great.
I'm
get a
making that.
Commonwealth Games to Canberra so I don't have to play football on a fucking shitty field. Oh, good.
With a 3-tiered temporary stand.
I want a goddamn dome with an electric roof that can slide for the weather.
Slide in fields, slide out field for summer. It'd be great.
I deserve that. I'm a real athlete.
Right, the last piece of news we have this week is the Winter Olympics. It finished the other night. I think it was a spectacular event. Australia went on to win 4 medals in total, one gold, and 2 silver and a bronze. I think we did really well this year. It was our best Olympics ever. And I think I watched a lot more of it than I have lately. And I think we did really well. So shout out to everyone who was a part of that. And hopefully we'll have you guys on the show really soon.
And the Paras are on at the moment. The winter
too. Yep.
About to start.
They started tomorrow night. Yes. And we've got another 3 weeks of that. So wait for that. Right, it's time for the good, bad, and ugly. Now, Bo, you're up this week. What do you have for the good for us?
Mate, my good is absolutely just honing in on the NRL is being back as someone that lives and breathes the NFL. It's like I've got a 7-month gap between we having something I love being back. So the NRL's back. Love it. It's a disgusting sport full of grubs. We're going to hear so much on the news about some of the shit the boys get up to.
And Roosters, yeah.
It's probably not even that good a thing for us all, except for me, which I just love watching the sport. So I would almost say, ladies, be careful because the NRL boys are back out. Not the best bunch of people to be around. But for my viewing, it's a good time. It's a great sport, and it gives me something to do and focus on between now and the start of the NFL season. As a Newcastle Knights supporter, my heart's ready to be broken. It's going to be a terrible season, but here we are. Something for me to fill my Friday, Saturday, Sunday through moving forward. And I will focus more on that in the podcast moving forward, and I'm excited for that.
Well, I'm on the bad this week, and my bad is similar to yours, mate. I watched a few of the trials over the weekend, and I want to talk about jersey sizes. Now, in Australian sport, I'm talking league, union, and AFL. It's like one size fits all. I'm used to watching American sports, your NBA, your NFL, where jerseys are fucking huge. They're big jerseys. Whereas on the weekend, I watched some very large units fill out a jersey that shouldn't be worn by them. I'm not sure whether the NRL does
Are you fucking body shaming now?
I am body shaming.
Oh my God.
I'm body shaming the NRL.
Every season you've got a problem with it's either the ref or it's body shaming.
Most of these dudes were absolute specimens, and they were wearing shirts, and I was like, I am a very straight male, but some of them I was like, look at this dude. What is he? That is a tight jersey. Yes.
$20 to $20, right?
$20 is $20. So shout out to whoever it is that creates the jerseys that we all have to watch on the weekend. A few years back when I was a lot larger than I am now, because I'm an athlete now, I purchased a Sydney Swans.
No, shout out to Spinks though. I only just saw, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I only just saw a photo of you when you hadn't done as much running, would be a polite way to say it. And you've come a long way. So yeah,
thank you,
good
sir.
on you.
Yes, I've dropped, it's been 2 years and I've dropped 30 kegs. Yeah. So I'm doing very well. So yes, thank you, sir.
Looking well.
Yes. But still, I still don't fit into the Swans shirt I bought years ago. That was a double XL. And if I wore it right now, it would still be a tank top. It's about that big. It is, and it's still the same much money, as much larger NRL shirt, but the way these dudes on the weekend were fitting into these shirts, I saw two blokes drag a shirt over someone else. That's not normal, is it? Surely.
No.
Like what happened to back in the day?
That's normal. No, I'm on the other end. Yes, that's normal. That's fine.
Because you are the athlete among us. So
I'm not an athlete. But the tighter the jersey, the less likely you are to get tackled. That's just science.
Then how come that doesn't work over in say England or the US or anywhere else? Like, why is that not a thing? But
With what sport? What sport is that not happening?
Let's talk English Premier League. Their jerseys aren't that tight.
They are in Europe.
NFL.
Disagree. They are tight.
NBA. That tight.
NBA, you're wearing a singlet in an almost non-contact sport, so you don't
Ice hockey, huge
someone up.
jerseys.
But they've got padding.
You've got no gloves, you've got no fingers, you can't tackle. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I just don't get the having to. What happened to like fat dudes like George Rose and
he's not an athlete, and that's why.
English. What happened to fat dudes like? He's a fat dude, isn't he? Now
Latrell is still in the league. He's not the most
here we go.
Not even me.
NRL season's here. We're talking Latrell Mitchell.
Last year it was me paying out Latrell. I'm so glad Bo's on that train.
I mean, like
he was on Latrell's side.
He's my go-to guy of like a guy that just does not have a rig. Is physically doesn't look
one
nice to look
match,
at.
and we're already on Mitchell.
And he didn't even play.
But he's a beast. He's so strong. Don't worry about him.
We will have a weekly segment on how's Mitchell doing.
Oh, Latrell Mitchell week.
Latrell Mitchell.
Yes, I love it.
Every week.
We won't have much to do for a few weeks because the prick's not going to be playing for a while.
Righto. Nest, you've got the ugly this week. What do you got for us?
I'm actually taking a little bit more morbid than what you guys are, but we've obviously been talking a bit about the Winter Olympics. So
that's not what you told me earlier.
No, we're not going there. This podcast has already lost the plot. So.
Come on, that topic was great.
That was an off-air conversation. We'll bring back to that loop later. No, the 15-year-old Russian skater, so Ila Valera, I think her name is. So she was controversially allowed to participate still, despite 6 weeks before the Olympics testing positive to a performance-enhancing drug. And so it pretty much sent rockets right through the entire skating community, and so much so that her Russian teammate actually took out the gold medal and says that she should no longer skate and she shouldn't be allowed to compete. So the IOC actually said that if she did medal, after allowing her to participate, that there wouldn't actually be a medal ceremony. So they actually went through with it because she ended up finishing fourth.
And she didn't she tumble?
Yeah, she tumbled 4 times apparently and got a score of 141.93, which is super low. She was the favourite, so she went into this completely expecting a medal. I guess for me, it's just ugly on so many levels in that this is a 15-year-old kid that's taking performance-enhancing drugs. So for me, there's just no place. But also someone's helped her to get that. Like a 15-year-old kid in an elite environment doesn't do that on their own accord. So we should be, that should be something looked at. And this is at the Olympics at the highest level, apparently, and that's happening. But also, now that they're coming out, she's completely marred by this situation. This is something that she won't ever forget. Her name is tarnished completely. And at a vulnerable age of 15, young girls should be encouraged to continue sport of some. She's obviously super talented. She went into the women's skate program as the favourite. So there was certainly expectation that she would medal, if not a gold medal. Her life has changed. She's 15 years old. Like, I can't actually see how this ends well for her going forward. So a pretty ugly story out of that. And the commentators themselves were saying that they actually felt really sick having to commentate it because they didn't think that she deserved to be participating at all. So there's sort of that, the ugliness of the IOC allowing it to happen, the fact that she's probably gotten help to take these drugs, and now her career is completely in tatters. So really, a sad story out of what was a fantastic Olympics run by China. So that's my ugly.
That is so scary because, as I think we can all admit, as a 15-year-old, if you're on the brink of making it or whatever, you're just going to take the advice that you get. Right. And you can't even really put it on her. I feel bad for her because if I was a 15-year-old, I'd be vulnerable and I'd be taking whatever advice I got from my coaches or my team. And now you've maybe just ruined a 15-year-old's career. That is truly sad.
Shows the enormity of the pressure, I think, that these athletes are under too, right? Like, we see it a lot with the gymnasts, but obviously, I didn't know anything about skating until I read up on this a little bit, but obviously it's pretty much the same. So it's win at all costs, and those, the Russians and like the Brazilians in soccer, these particular countries just have these incredible amounts of pressure that they put on their athletes to succeed. And it's that win at all cost, which we all have as Australians that are passionate about sport. It's win at all cost, but you don't see that happen.
We do, but at 15, like in Australia, you're getting a participation award at 15.
Yeah, exactly right.
Win at all cost. That is super scary, if you ask me.
There was talk about her at the Olympics when she was 12. So there was a chance that she was going to go through at the age of 12. So she's obviously had the talent all this time. And if they've thought that she could do it at 12, surely she's not taking anything at the age of 12. So maybe moving forward, someone between the age of 12 and 15 has said these things will help you to get through. And 15-year-olds aren't taking drugs to get them through unless they live where I did. But this is
that's a different kind of drug, I think.
It's a drug, yeah. But you're not taking those things to get you there. This has come from your coach or your family, and that peer pressure to be as strong as you should be. She probably would have won without it. And I think, and this has been going on for a couple of weeks now, and she was the favorite to win it, but she fell a few times in the final. So I think it got to her. It got to her too much, and you're
not even, I guess, at 15, you're so far from being an adult, and and they are very much in their own bubbles. Like these are athletes that eat, sleep, train, repeat type thing. So the pressure has to, much like Spinks. I can't actually, on that note, I have to look at the CCTV footage around my work to see just how quick.
Don't say about that. That sounds bad. The CCTV footage. I haven't
breaking the law. I can't.
I train around where this works. You happen to see me walking. I was exhausted. That's why I was walking. But that's bad.
Yeah.
Right, coming up this week, guys, we have a special weekend. But let's talk about what's happening this weekend first. Super Rugby continues this week. The Waratahs are playing the Western Force. The ACT Brumbies have got a match on as well, but no one gives a shit. We've got the AFL and the NRL trials will continue this weekend. But if you are a fan of our show who lives in the ACT, I have the weekend lineup for you. If you are my children and you are tuning into this show, it's time to turn off because I'm going to tell you what we're doing this weekend. You guys have got no idea. Right. So if you live in the ACT, Friday, the show is on in Canberra. The Canberra show is on starting on Friday. So I'm taking my children out of school. They are currently asleep. And there? Yep, they are.
They've just heard that and they've run in.
So yeah, there should be, yeah. The show starts on Friday here in the ACT. So I'm taking Friday off work. So take Friday off work, take your children or your mum or your friends or whoever to the show on
Tinder date, whatever you've got.
You got your Tinder date, Ness, whatever you got for us. Saturday, the ACT Brumbies are playing the Fijian team at 2:35. But you want to leave that game. That game's here at the stadium. But you want to leave that game early so you can get down to Griffith Oval to watch the Centurions against the Wolves at 4:00 on Saturday afternoon. Now, before I go on, will this be your last game in a Centurions jersey on Saturday afternoon?
On the spot. Yeah, for sure. It's got to be my last game.
Are you retiring at 6:30 on Saturday night?
For sure. Yeah, I have to.
Sure?
I have to. I want to keep playing. I love the sport. But for anyone that follows this local league sport or just me in general, or like I wasn't even meant to play this year, and I kind of ruined a young man's dream of playing
You did
quarterback in local league. So I come back just to play one more year, and I can't do it to him again. My brain, my body all feels like I want to keep playing, but I don't want to play for anyone else. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't really think I can do a coaching thing. It's not for me. That would just piss me the fuck off, being like, hey, this is what, just do this. And they can't do it because they haven't been around the sport so long. So this will be my last game of football. It's going to be sad. I will absolutely cry. If you're at the game and you want to see a grown-ass man cry, you will see me cry.
Now you've also moved. You've moved from what you were doing into construction now. So what you have to look forward to is a lovely tan like this and a sick sunglass tan that you can see right here going on. So yeah, the fact that you are leaving a sport that you love, you can now be as orange as I am.
That's what I'm hoping for, man. And I've told my boss, I was like, by the way, I'm not wearing fucking clothes at work ever. So, look, football's over, but my tan is something we can maybe even just get a track on this show.
And you and I are sending each other messages about the work you've been doing. Are we allowed to share those messages on the show?
Of course we can.
About the oily decks.
I've been oiling some decks, some big decks lately.
There's been some very big oily decks. Yeah,
there has been. This is like the second point in my life where I've ever seen some big oily decks.
Yeah, there's been a lot of oily decks. It's been very good. Your deck work has been fantastic, mate. It's been so good.
I'm not sure if the microphone picked up here, but my lady in the background just was like, had a good laugh at me. So.
She's gone. She's out. That's right. So let's recap the weekend here in the ACT because we got sidetracked. Friday, take the children to the show. Saturday at 2:35, watch ACT get beaten by BG, but leave that game early so you can go to Griffith Oval to watch your last game for the Centurions when they beat the Wolves in the ACT Grand Final. And on Sunday, I'm going to go for a run and then kayak, and Ness is going to join me on those two things. Aren't you, Ness?
Maybe the second one. You run, I'll catch you in the kayak.
Yes. And then
potentially you have me joining you because I'll be in a state of mind on Sunday, which I will be a vulnerable human being and I'll be up for anything.
You'll be a very vulnerable human being.
I will be the least sober person in the world.
At 7:10 on Sunday night at Monica Oval, there is the AFLW match. And I forgot to write down what the two teams were. Ness, have you got those two teams?
The Giants and Carlton.
Thank you very much. Very nice. All right. As always, guys, it's very nice to have you guys here, and we'll see you all next week.
You're wild.
Take care. Brush your hair.
Stop this.